Hi, my name is Ali Truckin. Today's date is November 29th, 2018, and the password is purple. Here is my audience. Hi. And all right, let's get started. So, this past year, my boyfriend and I went on two different road trips to the Pacific Northwest from Wichita, Kansas, where we used to live. The first trip, we drove from halfway across America to find the perfect place to move to. And the second trip was us actually moving to our new home in Cottage Grove, Oregon. Each trip was at least 2 weeks, and we we did so much exploring and driving, and we saw some of the most beautiful scenery that the Wild West has to offer. We saw some breathtaking views in some of the greatest and most beautiful national parks in America. We hiked up waterfalls in Yosemite National Park in California. We hiked through the desert and through rivers in Zion and in Bryce Canyon in Utah. And we swam in freezing cold water in Crater Lake, Oregon. We even came face to face with a bear while we were hiking in California, just surrounded by towering sequoia and pine trees. But one thing that we did see after all of those travels that really stuck with us was the destruction to wildlife's natural habitats through deforestation, wildfires, pollution, and invasive plants. Luckily, we were able to find a fantastic nonprofit organization in Cottage Grove, Oregon, called the West Fork Willamette Watershed Council. And they are working to restore some of the natural beauty and the natural wildlife habitats here in Oregon. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. What exactly is a watershed? Well, according to the West Coast or the West Fork Willamette Watershed Council, a watershed is an area of land that provides or contributes water to a particular river or a stream. This can be runoff from groundwater, from springs, or precipitation from snow, rainfall, or fog. The two main watersheds that this council is working to protect is the Dorena Reservoir and the Cottage Grove Reservoir. And both of these places are homes to various types of wildlife and vegetation. But unfortunately, due to climate change, invasive plant species, and fires, these habitats are changing drastically. When settlers arrived back in the Willamette Valley back in the 1800s, they were greeted by an oasis of beautiful, towering oak trees and wetlands. And some of the restoration projects that are in action now is the My Brother's Farm Restoration Project. Volunteers and members of the Watershed Council have planted over 48,000 native trees and shrubs that are local to the area. And in the nearby future, they're going to prepare the land to plant 35,000 more native trees and shrubs. The maintenance that they are providing to the area includes irrigation, mowing, and the removal of invasive species. The project is planned to last until 2022, so there's still so much time to get involved. Another restoration project is called the Carnine Uplands Prairie and Oak Savanna Restoration. The property is filled with rare but unfortunately degraded oak savanna and prairie habitats in the Willamette Valley. The prairie has been invaded by vegetation and grasses that aren't native to Oregon, and because of the lack of native habitat, there's been a negative impact on the native species of animals and plants that live in the prairie. And if you've ever visited the Pacific Northwest or if you've ever lived up here, then you know about the blackberries. They are an invasive species that grow very fast, and the thick, thorny vines of the fruit plant really hurts. I have been personally victimized by a blackberry vine multiple times while hiking. The thorny vines seem to slowly creep up the trail and catch onto my legs or catch the skin on the back of my hand, and it hurts. According to Oregon's Noxious Weed website, it is the most widespread and economically disruptive of all of the noxious weeds in Western Oregon. It aggressively displaces native plant species and dominates most of their habitats. Now imagine if that blackberry bush was taking over your entire house. That is what it feels like for these animals and plants that are native to this land when an invasive species comes and takes over. And the blackberry bush is just one of the many invasive species that are suffocating the native plants in the area. It is up to us to protect these fragile habitats and to restore them to what they once were. The first Tuesday of each month, the Coast Fork Willamette Watershed Council has a science pub at a local business in Cottage Grove called the Axe and Fiddle. The Science Pub is one of the ways that they are spreading awareness of the polluted watershed and restoring native plants to the area. All of the proceeds that the restaurant and the bar raises, 10% of that goes to the council so they can put that money towards the various restoration projects that they have in plan. Um, According to Elizabeth Marcelona with the Journal of Translational Medicine, it is imperative that the public is engaged in science issues which have an impact on their lives in their own self-interest and to best thrive in modern society. Research that Marcelona and her team have done have shown that the hands-on learning helps students of all ages retain information so much better than just memorizing scientific terms. So, with the hands-on approach that the Science Pub offers, the people of the community have a chance to better understand what is going on in their own backyards. And with climate change on the rise, we need to do everything that we can to protect this earth because there is no plan B. We must think of our children, we must think of our families, and think of our friends, and really think about what kind of world we're leaving for them. If we don't act now to protect the environment and clean up the waterways and the watersheds and help the plants that are native to certain areas thrive, then the world that we leave for the future generations won't be anywhere near the same than the world that we got to enjoy while growing up. But there is still time to protect Oregon's Willamette's Valley, the ecosystem, and to protect the habitats of the wildlife and the native plants in the area. By joining the West Fork Willamette's Watershed Council and donating, you can help restore the beautiful and towering oak trees that once populated the area. The prairies can flourish again, and the different birds and animals and insects that are native to the lands will feel safe, and they'll feel like they have an environment to be at home in. By acting now and donating, we can help to restore these sacred lands so our future generations can see the beauty that I fell in love with when I first came up here, and the reason why I now call this beautiful slice of the country my home.